you're alive, you are coming with me.
Welcome, everyone. Our first book review on Boxcast to Nowhere. It's me, Himbo Horse, and my co-host, Inquisitor Ian of the Ordo Tequilas.
Last night I was a little bit, yeah.
First things first. Holy shit! Right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm Ian from Hyperspace Hobbies. Just to let everybody know, Horace and I just finished up Leviathan, the Leviathan book, and it was a banger at the end. I think what we're probably going to do is go spoiler free for the first couple minutes, and then once we kind of can't say anything else, we'll have to go into deep spoilers. So we'll have a timestamp ready for everyone who wants to check that out.
Yep, and the timestamp will be right below on this video. First things first, I thought this book definitely didn't go the way I thought it was going to go. It right. Definitely had. It's a very good opener. It's the perfect opener for 10th edition.
Yes, I thought that was awesome. They did a lot of really interesting things, and even the first little bit of the novel kind of gripped me quite a bit. Especially like the first chapter had me absolutely gripped.
Oh my god! Yes.
And I feel like a lot of these 40k novels are really just an advertisement for the models that they're trying to sell.
Yeah.
I didn't get that feeling in this one at all. I didn't feel like they were trying to sell me a model just because, it did something cool in the book.
Because, in 9th edition, they had Indominus, which is like Gabe Thorpe, which I haven't finished reading, but it was very much to reveal the 9th edition starter kit. Like, oh, here's the lieutenant with the storm shield and the power sword, who is basically a Blade Guard veteran.
Yeah. I didn't feel like they were trying to sell me something. I think they were trying to essentially sell me on the story instead of on the models.
I agree. I agree. I really do believe that this was just, it wasn't complicated. It's not like you have to know a lot about the lore to understand this book. It's not like reading a Horus Heresy book or the Dark Imperium where you've got to make sure you know enough about Mortarion for this to make sense or to understand, some of the other stories for everything to fall into picture. But I will say it's about the book. I have the audiobook and the physical book. I wish Games Workshop was a little quick. I guess it's not on Games Workshop's fault. This may just be Amazon's fault, right? Because I have Amazon tablet to read Kindle ebook versions of the books, but also Audible for the audiobook. And for the first couple of months, they don't really sync them together. They did it for the Lionel Johnson book, Son of the Forest, which made it so much easier to get through because I can just listen to the book while I read it. That way I pick up on stuff a lot easier. Because when you're doing an audiobook, sometimes you miss details because it just flies by.
Right.
And you aren't able to sit down, highlight a certain sentence or a quote that really stood out to you, and you can write notes and whatnot. The audiobook is just it's great if you want to quickly just get through a book, but you usually miss a lot of details in the first reading. But I didn't on this one. I think it's more so there were just some characters that didn't stand out to me enough for me to fully get gripped and enthralled into them. So I was kind of just like on autopilot for some of their scenes, and I'll talk about that in a second in the spoilers. But I think I'm going to go ahead and just rate the book.
What do you think of the pacing of the book? Because without your tablet and audiobook or whatever kind of combo, how did you feel the book was paced, kind of start to finish?
I'm glad you asked that, because reading the book felt like a chore. Physically reading it felt like a chore. I was at BlurredCon the other weekend earlier in the month, and I was trying to get some reading done on it. And while I was sitting in the anime theater, instead of watching this B-tier terrible anime, I'm reading this book, and I'm trying to get through it. I'm like, okay, I feel like I just read a big chunk of the book. Turns out I only read like 2 chapters. But the audiobook, it just breezed by. Like, it just went by so quickly. And now looking back, now that I'm done with the book, for some reason, it feels like it wasn't that long. Even though the audiobook is like 12 and a half hours long, it doesn't feel like that. The story feels a lot more contained now that I'm done. But at first, I'm like, okay, where is this going? How big is this going to be? Like, you know, I'm sitting here thinking, I already know how the outcome is going to be. It's going to turn out exactly how I think it is. Nope, it went the exact, I mean, it didn't go the exact opposite route, but it definitely went adjacent to what I thought was going to happen.
Yeah, they definitely bounced around with a lot of different kind of stories. And I thought it was good that they not only focused on Space Marines, they focused on what sort of like what a human would be up to. A lot of it was human focused, which I really liked because it kind of brings you in. It lets you know how you would fit in on the planet of Regium.
Yes. And I think with that, I'd say my rating for the book, I was going to give it like a 7. I think it's going to be an 8.
Yeah, 8 out of 10.
Because the stuff I didn't like irritated me, but the good stuff, especially near the end of the book, it really picked the fuck up. And it was just, holy shit. Everything just went from 0 to 100 to 1,000 to freaking Oppenheimer. I'm like, oh my God.
It is fitting. Yeah, the Oppenheimer thing is fitting. But I think we're kind of getting into a bit of spoilers here. So we might want to just say we're going to start with the spoiling of the book.
Yes. So, the beginning of the book really has that H.P. Lovecraft vibe.
Oh, I loved it.
Where it's like everyone's waking up to the same nightmare of the Tyranids arriving. It's just like mass hysteria. Everyone's freaking out. One thing about this book, and since we are in spoiler territories, I love the tension between Regium and the Ultramarines.
Yes, they definitely, people on the planet both looked at the Ultramarines as saviors and oppressors, and both respected and feared them in the same like kind of regard, which I thought was awesome.
Yes, I loved how the people who were against them were like, they're destroying our culture, replacing it with fortresses and weaponry and all this shit. They destroyed our art, they destroyed our history, and what do we get in return? We just gotta lick their boots and do what they say, and they don't even understand the full picture of what's happening of, hey, your planet's about to get fucked hard.
I like how, I can't remember who exactly said it in the book or how they phrased it, but they essentially said like the Ultramarines were created to protect us, the people, which I thought was interesting because everyone is kind of looking at them almost as if they are machines, like machine weapons. They don't really look at them in a human kind of way, or even that they were ever once human. They sort of only look at them and go, like, they are a weapon of war to keep us alive.
Yes. I really, especially the governor character just looking out for himself.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like, what a piece of shit. I can't wait for you to die. He definitely didn't die the way I thought he was going to. I thought the Tyranid was just going to fucking eat him. Like, what was it? Not Day of the Dead. Was it Day of the Dead? Where they're in the bunker and then they just show up and just eat the main villain, the military guy, and he's saying choke on it. I can't remember which one that was, but it's like, I thought it was going to be like that. It's just some moment of comeuppance where he just gets devoured, or like a Norn emissary shows up and just eats like in Jurassic Park.
Yeah, the Norn emissary, I mean, the Harbinger being revealed as a Norn emissary, and it was also a model that was just released like, I don't know, a week or two ago. I was wondering what the Harbinger was, because they mentioned it screamed a bunch,
I thought
and
it was a screamer killer.
I also thought it was a screamer killer because it wasn't well described, and I think maybe that was one part of the book that I didn't love as much. I wanted a little bit more description, as I am a big fan of Tyranids in the game, and some of their lore. I wanted it to be like, the humans had no idea what they were fighting, but an Ultramarine would recognize this thing as a Mawloc. So that in my head I could go, okay, I know what I'm looking at. But I guess that Tyranid High Fleet forms kind of change and vary quite a bit. It's not as easy as just saying they're all one model.
Yeah, I think that was addressed in the book, that these are new strains, like the Neuro Tyrant, which the Cadian regiment going up against it was such an awesome moment.
Yes.
They knew that they were fucked, and they went ahead and did it. It's like, that's why Cadia is so badass.
Confessor Thurgow, his visions of martyrdom with the Emperor having his back, and then he realizes that it's totally not anything even close to that. I love the scene when they're charging up, and they're shooting at Tyranids, and the Tyranid are flashing occasionally as Cadian soldiers. And they're kind of pausing, and their mind is just totally getting racked with it would be so confusing, kind of bouncing in between memories while also knowing that you're probably on a battlefield, but maybe you aren't. Such an awesome way to kind of show off the Neurotyrant's power and how it had a mental hold on everybody on the whole planet.
It's fucking terrifying. It's like the Tyranids, okay, more psychic strains.
Yeah, I mean, that's essentially what kicked it all off, is people on the planet were starting to have headaches, and then they were like, okay, well, figure out where we're going to go. Let's launch the, what was it called? The Incorruptible? Cast some...
Yes.
That did not go very well.
Wrecked.
They have to scuttle the whole ship. Yeah. But that was such a good start, because it let everyone know that, okay, if you're new to the edition, if you're new to this kind of thing, and you're going, okay, Tyranids, they're just kind of mindless bugs that hit a planet and eat stuff and whatever, they're not that crazy. But in this, they immediately address the sneaky tactics, the fact that they can mind control people with the gene stealer cults that were working on Regium to slowly tear it apart, while the Tyranids weren't even close to approaching the planet. I loved that theme that Regium was sort of doomed anyways, because with the rise of the gene stealer cults and with this Tyranid High Fleet coming in, there was no saving it.
Yeah, I thought it was horrific that this book clarified these just aren't mindless bugs, they are sentient. Near the end where Castamon got his fucking shit wrecked, Lieutenant Castamon just got absolutely dogged, and I was kind of happy because I was not vibing with him very much, and I'll get to that in a second. But there was one line: the Harbinger considered them vermin. He could feel the disdain radiating from it, and I like how they keep calling back to the Harbinger just being no, it's aware. It hates you personally.
Yeah, it's I remember you. And maybe even I'm reaching out, casting a psychic net to try to find out where you are.
Yes, because Voltus kept having, apothecary biologist Voltus kept having those visions of Gilliman. It's oh shit.
I loved how they did this. All psychic stuff that happened in this book, both the librarian Abarim and his
rest in peace,
and what the Tyranids were doing, I just thought it was really, really quite fun. I love the fact that the way they described the gene stealer cult in the book, and when there was two humans there. What were they? Pharaoh and Valacia.
Yes.
Yeah, they kind of go through. They meet gene stealer cults pretty quick and realize that something is terribly wrong, and then they start their scramble to get off planet. Man, it was just...
It's written so terrifying.
Yes. I also really love the way that they showed off the hive mind's power. This kind of everyone is thinking at the exact same time, the exact same thing. And then they also showed off how that can be exploited when Aberrim kind of goes nuclear with the shield generator, and everything in the dome gets like completely confused and is killing themselves, and they're like attacking humans and space marines, and then also kind of like glitching out and then attacking each other. I like that was like almost a hint, if there is going to be like a Leviathan 2 book, of how they that Voldis might actually be able to use the little brain bug and start scrambling all the signals.
Yeah, because I was wondering what the apothecary biologist model carries in that canister. It's like, oh, it's the freaking neuro thing.
Yeah.
It's what controls them.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool. I think Voldis, he's the best character in the book, in my opinion.
Voldis and Baracus, yes, they're definitely...
Yeah, Baracus.
They're definitely like the main... I feel like the main characters of the book. Even though Castamon is like obviously higher ranked. The journey, the growth in characters happens in Baracus and Voltus.
Yeah, and what's crazy about this book is that I thought it was going to be... You know what's funny? I thought that every model from the new 10th edition Leviathan box was going to be present in this story.
Mm-hmm.
But really the only one I could think of is the apothecary biologist. And there's 2 lieutenants in the book. The first one gets his shit rocked in just one chapter. Like, they build him up as this tough badass and friends with Voltus. And it's like, oh, here comes the Tyranid fleet. Oh, here we go. And then it's like, wait a minute, where'd it go? Why is our shit turned off? Where are our force fields? And then the Tyranids just bust the fuck in and kill everything immediately. Space Marines get wrecked. The Navy turn on each other and start murdering each other. I was like, oh my god. And then the lieutenant gets killed in the first real fight with the Norn emissary.
Yeah, I thought that was such an interesting... Because I was like, okay, he's going to be a character. And then I kind of looked at the models, and I don't think there is a model for him.
Yeah, because it's like the lieutenant in the Leviathan box is covered in the chitin.
Yeah, I believe that would be Baracus. I just assumed that would be Baracus.
Yeah, and I think Baracus is not even a lieutenant, so it's
yeah,
it's weird. Right?
I don't really know, but I mean, the librarian is for sure that librarian.
Oh, the Terminator armor.
Yeah. I love when he just like is there, and they know they're gonna get interrogated by him. And he's just like walking in a big circle, dragging his axe, and he just like pierces her mind, absorbs all the information, and she's just like like the fear was I could sense the fear of knowing you're gonna get interrogated by a librarian, and also when you know you've done something wrong.
Yeah,
it was just so... I love that part. The librarian parts, man, they all got me.
There's a scene at the end in the final battle that I really loved when what the hell is the sergeant's name?
Castamon?
Tanaro.
Oh, Tanaro. Okay.
Tanaro. Yeah, Tanaro. And it's him after the city just got destroyed. The fortress is destroyed, and he's ready to die. He's like, okay, I'm gonna stand up because they're gonna die anyway. And citizens help him. And they all stand with him and say the Ultramarine moniker, courage and honor.
Yes.
And I went to cry a little bit because they know it's like the fact that remind Space Marines, hey, humans are just as brave as you are. We can be just as brave, if not braver.
Yeah. Yeah. When they all lift him up, and he's like kind of didn't know how one person could lift him up, but then he didn't quite realize that it was everybody.
It's the whole survivors just helping him.
Yeah. I thought it was such an interesting way as well to tell the story of like humans, and then how it all ended up, and they kind of ended up on the ship and managed to escape at the very end, and how Apothecary Voltus was like, I don't actually care about these humans at all. And they're like, can we please come on the ship? Like, And he's like, yeah, I guess just don't say anything. Like, you're not allowed to talk.
Don't talk to me.
Yeah. You're allowed to be on the ship, just don't talk. Especially don't talk about anything that happened on that planet. Everyone's just like, okay, I guess it's the only way we're gonna survive this. It was such like a way of bringing him back into being like a space marine looking down on a human, considering the whole time that the whole time he was having experiences, I felt like he was more, I don't know, I felt like he was on par with everybody, and then as soon as that came around, it was like, oh no, he kind of are reminded that Ultramarines are superior and know that they are.
Yeah, it's like, especially when he's dragging Castamon into the ship with him, and Castamon's head's busted. I like how the Norn emissary grabbed Castanon in the final fight and literally just flung him against the wall like a wet
just
towel.
Whipped him against the wall.
Just tossed him. I was like, holy shit.
What a heroic ending for Baracus, hey?
Yes, it's like that whole fight reminded me of like the first episode of Invincible where Omni-Man killed the fake-ass Justice League and just slaughtered the shit out of him.
Baracus sort of did like a Gandalf thing.
Yeah, he did. He
total sacrifice down the whole.
He was the champ.
Oh yeah!
What an absolute legend for that. Like he got the death he wanted. Unglorious, meant something. Went out swinging. I was like, God damn, I fucking love
he was pretty awesome.
But a quick synopsis of the plot. Of course, there's the waking nightmares of the civilians, the Ultramarines coming in, because if Rhygium falls, then there's a crack in the dam, and the Tyranids are going to get to the solar system.
To break in the Sanctus line, yeah.
Which, holy shit, how did they even get that close? Oh my god. And, of course, the Ultramarines are preparing. They don't say which company this is. I assume it's First Company. Just because of the Librarian and the Terminator armor and whatnot, but of course Tyranids invade. It's the Tyranid scenes are scary as shit. Just the way they're written, and when Boltus goes back out there with one of the squads and they all get slaughtered because that one human chick, I can't remember her name, but it's like they all get fucking killed except Voltus, who comes back with a specimen study. And then it's just so much happening. There was a lot of perspectives. Like, Tharo's perspective was cool because it felt very apocalyptic, very post-apocalyptic, just them trying to survive. And, the whole scene where they wake up and their lungs are hurting and they just feel sick because the air is infected with Tyranid spores. And it's just like,
the way they described the invasion of the Tyranids, they're essentially terraforming the planet, turning the planet into a stomach. I just thought that is such an interesting way of describing, like, all the planet's going to do from here on out is essentially break you down to make you easier for these guys to digest.
Yeah, it's so disgusting. And just, there's a lot of characters in this book, and some of them I don't even fucking remember who they are. Like the guy who was crazy and he had his daughter who was like, oh, we got to have a revolution kind of vibe. I don't remember her fucking name. I'm pretty sure she's dead, but... Yeah,
he was like a crime boss, right?
Yeah, he was a crime boss. And it's like he finally got his sanity back and he just starts going fucking crazy again. And I don't remember who the hell they were.
Yeah, all that scenes. There's just so many bouncing stories. So many bouncing stories.
And in the end, only 2 of the stories matter.
Yeah, really. But I like that they tried to get you invested in people, and wow, the last 5-6 chapters of this book, they just go headhunting and just start dropping these people off. I was very surprised.
Yeah, they just kick it. He's kicking it to high gear. I was like, well, shit. The fact that there were survivors in this book.
Yeah.
Like, I thought everyone was going to die. I thought they were just going to be like, well, we made our last stand. We're going to get fucking eaten. It's just going to be like the trailer for 10th edition where everyone just dies. was like, no, it's like, oh yeah, let's just blow up the
I
planet.
do love that end scene where all the humans are looking outside and going, look at this beautiful meteor shower. Oh my goodness. And he's just like, I'm not going to tell them.
Yeah. It's like they don't know that that's the planet.
Wow, I've never seen such
I was like, oh, that's
beautiful
dark.
meteors flying through the air. Oh, how wonderful. He's just like,
It's like, look, there's children in it. It's like, look at those white streaks. Those are bones. Oh shit. It's just like, holy shit. Now that's the classic 40K we know.
yes,
of, right?
yeah.
But quick second, I want to talk about Lieutenant Castamon. Wasn't vibing with him till the climax. The climax, he really turned around for me because he started just being an all-around badass. But for most of the book, he gave off this vibe where, I've said this before, but he feels like an Imperial fist.
I totally thought that he was just going to be our main character. Which I was
hoping.
I was very surprised that it kind of didn't know who the main character of the book was going to be, really, because the way that they bounced around from one story to another kind of didn't let you know who you thought was going to be the winner. And honestly, for a lot of it, I was rooting for the Tyranids. So I was like, this is the showing off like the way that they like break the mind of the planet before they break the body of the planet was such a cool way to display the gifts and the powers and the uniqueness of Tyranid. Because Space Marines just land on a planet and then start the war, like unless they just want to exterminate us from space. But Tyranids, as soon as they enter the galaxy, they are affecting everything around them with, psychic energy. And the visions that everyone's having, I thought was just very cool. It gave me Lovecraft. It gave me like Ridley Scott Alien. It gave me a lot of that stuff. Some Starship Troopers, absolutely. Yeah, it was. It gave me what I needed from the perspective of from the Tyranids.
Like, I was hoping Voltus would be the main character, and in the end, he kind of was, because he's the only one with a solid backstory. Him and Baraka being best friends, both being aspirants together, and the scene of them going hunting for those animals in the cliffs. And, he hears Baraka doing his call, saying, I need help. And he's like, I should push for him, but he's my friend. I'm going to go back for him. And, like, their friendship really does show through in this book, and it made me really sad watching it. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Loken and Torgadon in the Horsehairs. But of course, that's the much better friendship, because there was no better bromance for Space Marines than Loken and Torgadon.
But even in that instance, the one you're describing about when they're hunting that crazy creature, that is such an apothecary thing to do, though, right? Is to go and find somebody who's injured before you try to make a glory kill. So I felt it was a good setup for many different reasons, but the one that stood out for me was like, he was like had an apothecary mindset from the start.
Yeah, this book definitely isn't deep per se. It's not like Horus Rising or False Gods when they're having these philosophical discussions and it's really deep and there's a lot of foreshadowing and metaphors and just a lot of deep thinking. This is very much straightforward at the end of the day. I really hope to see more of Valdis, because he could really turn the tide. I'm interested to see where he goes, like if he ends up becoming like Chief Apothecary one day for Ultramarines, or is he going to interact with Gilliman, because he's met Gilliman before, so it'll probably be best if he went to Gilliman and said, hey, we need a strategy, because I think I can figure out a way to really fuck with the Tyranids, because of the Neuro thing he stole. But it's weird how long this book is, but at the end of the day, it's very simple once you sit back and you're able to see the full picture.
I almost feel like a Leviathan 2 is like almost do you think Leviathan 2 is in the works? Because the way this book ends, I feel like it totally could have
Probably down the line, maybe halfway through 10th edition, like a turning of the tide, because I really do think this edition, because we got so much shit to deal with, right? We've got the Tyranids getting smarter and more of a threat. The Lion is back, and he hasn't even seen Gilliman yet, so they gotta do that book, because then there's no telling what the Lion can do once he and Gilliman team up, because it's like, okay, send the Lion and the Risen and the Dark Angels to go, take out the Hive Queen or whatever the fuck, right? And then there's also Emperor's Children coming back, so that could be a whole thing. We also got that the Belisarius Call and Fabius Bile book coming.
Right, yeah.
Which could also tie into the Tyranids and how each of them could deal with it. Like Call may want to study, meet with Voltus, study the Tyranids, maybe make some countermeasure against them that may be seen as heretical. But Gilliman is like, no, fuck it, do it. Just do it, please.
Yeah, just anything to stop them.
Biles, and Bile's like, what if we made our own?
Yeah, that's it. I could definitely see Bile doing something like that, like learning from how they adapt to a situation.
Like, there's so many ways this edition can go with this story. It's just the perfect starter, and it's like, holy shit, there's so much they can do with this. And then the next Primarch to come back, I want it to be Jagatai Khan, because for all we know, he's been in the Black Library. He may know something about the Tyranids that could turn the battle, and also Vashtor and Abdon are in the Webway, I'm pretty sure. So it's like, they're up to some shit. What are they going to end up doing? There's the Gene Stealer cult on Terra. There's so much happening, and then Orcs doing their thing. You got the Eldar still sucking because all their books are terrible, but it's just, there's so much happening. There's a lot of moving pieces right now. And then what about when the Chaos Primarchs come back? What's going to happen when Fulgrim comes back? What's he?
Yeah, I can't wait for that.
There's a lot of stuff that could be happening this edition, and I really feel like this edition, in the end, it's gonna have probably a really downer end. It's probably gonna be something really bad's gonna happen. I feel like something really fucking bad's gonna happen. Because 11th edition, my money is Perturabo, that edition. It'd be nice if Perturabo is the main threat of the entirety of 11th edition, and he just comes out with all this new tech and all kind of weird shit, and he just breezes through Tyranids like, ew, what the fuck is this?
That would be
mows
that would be
down.
Amazing.
Yeah, and everyone's so busy because everyone's going to be fighting against the Tyranids. We're going to have Chaos versus Tyranids, Orcs versus Tyranids, Eldar, Necrons, and it's like everyone's so distracted by the Tyranids that maybe 11th edition Perturabo just comes in and then just starts whooping everyone's ass.
How did you feel about how they described the alien invasion in this book? Because I felt that it happened a bit too fast. It kind of went...
It definitely feels like... This book definitely feels like it took place over the course of a few days.
Yes, but it just seems like the amount of stuff that landed on the planet, and they didn't... Maybe I'm just...
The Biotitans.
Yeah, all of a sudden there's Biotitans. They didn't kind of describe what was happening in space. For me, I wanted to...
I think that may be...
I kind of wanted them to describe what was happening a lot in space for me to get an idea of the scale of the invasion that was happening on the planet. But I guess that's sort of a way of leaving you in the dark.
There had to be somebody in space. There had to be somebody in space fighting off these Tyranids. It couldn't have just been that one Ultramarine fleet and nothing else. It's like, holy shit.
But maybe there was, and it was all gone. I mean, they lost the Incorruptible pretty quick.
Yeah. I really thought that... Although I loved the description of the invasion, I thought it was happening pretty quick, and I'm not sure. I mean, for all we know, that could have been a writing mistake on Darius Hinks' part, because I'm pretty sure he's an Age of Sigmar writer, because he wrote Dominion. Now, I don't remember him writing any other 40k books.
He's done Blackstone Fortress books, and he did Mephiston as well.
See, I haven't read those. I heard Mephiston's good. But maybe it's just something maybe it's an oversight, maybe him or the editor of the book probably oversaw that and wanted to focus more on the pacing, just so people don't get bored. But maybe it could be a lore reason for it. Maybe the Tyranids are just getting better at turning planets.
Yeah.
Like, maybe it could be from when they were fighting the orcs on because they fought them on Armageddon, I think, right? Because that's, I think that's what happened. Like, the Tyranids invaded Armageddon for a minute because Armageddon's always under fire from the orcs, and maybe that's what happened. But I feel like maybe it has something to do with them getting genetic material from the orcs and understanding their biology more, like the whole spores thing. Maybe that helped quicken up the Tyranids getting on the planet and just turning it into the worst soup kitchen.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way. That's a really cool way of thinking about it.
Yeah, but I really want to see all the other factions' reactions to the Tyranids, like the Leagues of Votann, because we don't have Leagues of Votann.
Yeah.
We really need one. This would be the perfect time to do it. Have them fight Tyranids and see how good they are. Maybe, who knows, maybe Gilliman will break the law again because he says, fuck your rules, only my rules matter. Let's work with the League of Votann. And then the Inquisition's like, are you out of your fucking mind? He's like, I kind of am, because you guys suck at your jobs.
Yeah, I like the Gene Stealer cult kind of influence on Regium and how it made it so you really couldn't trust what anyone was saying. Nobody knew about it, first of all, so all the Ultramarines were acting like it didn't exist, and then all of a sudden, once it came to light, they kind of realized that they'd been screwed. But I like the whole fact that you couldn't trust even like your best friend or somebody who you think is a superior because they fall into Gene Stealer cults, and now they're forcing you to make bad decisions or tricking you in some way. The way that kind of played out, I thought was really cool.
Or like how Damaris, when Castleman wanted to kill her because she sent out the squad to die, she got the Ultramarines killed because she fucking hated them. I was like, because she doesn't trust them. They're off-worlders, and it's like they don't. That's the problem with Space Marines. If this was like the Salamanders, the communication would probably be immaculate, right? Like, it would have been great. It would have been like, oh yeah, this probably would have turned out better if it was Salamanders, because they would have came with a bunch of multi-meltas and heavy flamers and fucked shit up real good. But the Ultramarines in this book didn't act like Ultramarines. They really did give off that Imperial fist vibe.
Yeah, I felt like they didn't get a shining moment to show off what makes Ultramarines Ultramarines. Their kind of uniqueness. They could have been almost any Space Marine Legion.
Yeah, it didn't have that flavor. They could have just altered the characters and their fighting styles a bit and their tactics. They could have been Blood Angels, which would have been probably better for everyone who's read Devastation of Baal.
Oh.
Because like, oh yeah, they already fought the Tyranids, they know what to expect. But of course, the Ultramarines have that rivalry with the Tyranids because of the First Tyrannic War and everything, and they do mention that. And it's like, maybe these Tyranids remember that, and that's why they came here. And it's like, it's justifiable because the inhabitants of Regium are like, no, the Tyranids are here for you because you always fight them. They don't want us. They just came for you, which isn't totally unfair.
No, and I love the animosity that people have. They're like, I both hate and need Ultramarines around. Like, they're the ones who brought these monsters here, but also they're the only ones that are going to save us.
Yeah, I feel like the Ultramarine force didn't feel as massive as it usually is because they are, I don't know, maybe it's because most of them were on the Incorruptible, maybe they died on there, so there was only like a few squads left. But yeah, the Tharo scenes were really fun because he's just a guy and it's just him trying to survive with his friend, and they run to that little camp of humans after escaping the Gene Stealers, and they're all sick too, and it's like, holy shit. Yeah,
that roving band. And the roving band's like, we gotta move on, we gotta leave this girl trapped under a car. Like, we don't care, we just have to keep moving.
That was dark.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of dark, kind of heavy stuff in this novel.
This was a good starter novel. I do, I liked it. I think it was just a good start. I think next time we should definitely pick something with a bit more meat. But this was a great start. So anybody listening, if you want to get a vibe for how 10th edition is going to go, this book is good. It's an 8 out of 10 for me. Some moments kind of slowed down a little bit, but that's just, they're trying to build character, I think, and world, while the world is falling apart, literally. But those last few chapters, the climax is so well paced. It's just boom, boom, boom. It's quick. Like they don't waste any pages for the climax. It gets straight to the point. It's quick. I was on the edge of my seat wondering what was going to happen, because it did not go the way I thought it was going to go. I thought everybody would just die, but here they are in the last few chapters, and oh my god, like, are they going to make it? And then Baraka dies, and I was sad, and he just went out like a boss. His death kind of reminded me of the cowboy from Doctor Strangelove riding the atomic bomb.
Yeah, a little bit.
He just goes down happy.
Yeah, it's good that he got like a worthy end. And I like how Voltus etched his pauldron in honor.
Yeah.
That was such a cool kind of bro moment.
That was. And Castamon surviving, I was like, oh shit, you're alive?
Yeah.
It's like your head got crushed, dude. Maybe he'll become like cybernetic and whatnot. I hope Castamon's character develops a little bit more. I would like to see more of these guys. Especially Voltus. I would love to see more of Voltus. I think I do like that Tharo and his friends survive, because they just went through hell, and I'm like, please don't kill them, because I really care about them.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want them to die. It's like, oh, they live. Thank you.
Yeah, it was the end. It's all about those end chapters for me. They did, but I mean, maybe we're kind of praising the end chapters too much, because the middle and the beginning had great parts too. But that first scene where the farmer's climbing that like mining tower and throws the bomb in, and kind of has this moment of clarity, and realizing when she's trying to blow up what she thinks is a hive of terrible bugs, and as soon as the bomb goes off, she realizes that there are no bugs and that she's completely alone. I thought that was just so cool, in the fact that it was instantly letting you know that there's something out there controlling people's minds. And I just thought that was such an awesome way to kind of let you know right out the gate, this is not your normal planetary invasion.
Yeah, that was wild as hell. Just the whole opening was just chaos. But what would you say you rate the book?
Out of 10, I'd give it a 7.5. I thought that there was a lot of good storytelling. I liked a lot of the ways that they told how... I mean, they kind of switched up the Tyranid game. Instead of just being mindless, forward-pushing, just send wave after wave after wave. They gave them character, which I thought was really cool. In the Norn Emissary and in the Neuro Tyrant, they were like characters to me, essentially. The same way that Voltus and Castamon were characters. Which I thought was great, because to make a good hero story, I feel like you need a really good villain. And they did a good job in making the villain. The pacing, however, was a bit slow, and the storylines crisscrossing got a little bit kind of... I don't know. I felt like I could do without one of the stories. But I give it a 7.5 out of 10.
All right. Well, I want to do something a little fun for our next review.
Okay.
I am going to roll a d6.
Oh, okay.
So, this is how I'll do it. If it lands between 1 and 2, we will do an Imperium faction book.
Okay.
If it's a 3 to a 4, we will do Chaos.
Awesome.
And if it's a 5 to a 6, we'll do Xenos.
All right.
So let me roll this sucker. Oh yeah. That's a 5.
Xenos it is.
Xenos it is. All right, so we'll find our Xenos book. All right. Well, thank you, Ian, for this review with me, and thank you everyone for listening. Please do try to check this book out. Remember to subscribe, like, and share. And until next time, take care.
Take care, everybody.